What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the YouTube channel here at the Devy Royale. I am your host, Kevin Coleman at DuBois_22, and I am here with my good friend Anthony Corrente at Dynasty Drive. Anthony, how we doing?
Good, man. Looking forward to it.
And we are back with a this or that series that we've been doing. If you haven't checked out our Bryce Young versus CJ Stroud, watch this through, then go watch the other one because that was a good one too. And today we are looking at wide receivers of the 23 class, and we're looking at Jordan Addison, the newest USC wide receiver, and Quentin Johnston, TCU wide receiver. And who would you rather have at the current ADP? And this one's a close one. We have Jordan Addison right now going as wide receiver 5 at 107. Quentin Johnston, wide receiver 6, 109. But that ADP fluctuates. I've seen Johnston go a little ahead of Addison. I've seen Addison go a lot ahead of Johnston in some drafts. That's a great thing about Devy. This ADP is kind of bullcrap. I mean, it's consensus ADP, but consensus from where? And I think it just matters if someone falls in love with one of these guys, they're going a little earlier. So this is for us to kind of talk about why we would choose one of those other ones to help you with that decision. As far as production goes, I think there's a clear winner in this one. Addison went off last year, made Kenny Pickett look good, which is something that is hard to do. 100 receptions, 1,500 yards receiving, 17 touchdowns. He was the Blitnikoff Award winner. And then he left Pitt to go to USC to Lincoln Riley's offense. So we've seen Addison be able to produce. Quentin Johnston, on the other hand, just hasn't been in a very high volume passing offense and just really hasn't played a full season yet. 8 games both times. He had 634 yards last year, 6 touchdowns, but his yards per reception is what people love to see. 19 last year, 22 his freshman year in a pretty bad quarterback play offense. I know Max Duggan's okay, but let's be honest, he's no Kenny Pickett, what we've seen from this high volume passing offense. So what do you say about these guys? What do you think, Anthony? Just initial thoughts.
I think it's a great point. The stats it's kind of like the tale of two halves. Like Addison has all the numbers to back it up, and Johnston is all projection. I think you're spot on that Johnston's had really no favors done for him in the quarterback department, where Jordan Addison has played alongside a guy this past season that just was selected in the first round of the draft, whether we like Kenny Pickett or not. And should be going to a scheme where he'll get featured again. The thing that I find interesting about them is, for as highly touted as they kind of both are, Johnston has that big yards per catch, ability to get downfield, win deep, and Addison is good, and most of the damage comes from the slot. So kind of differing skill sets, but we hope to see some more production out of Johnston this year, but I would bet on Addison, outproducing him pretty significantly again.
Yes, I think so too. But like I mentioned with Addison, he's going to a new system. He came late, right? Because he didn't get there till what, April? I believe.
Yeah, April or May, something like that.
Somewhere around there. So he's got to learn that whole new system there. I mean, I know he's going to be good. I know his skill set, but USC's got 25 wide receivers on that roster right now.
Dude, so many. I was making this list the other day, getting ready to do a USC wide receiver video, and it is so deep.
Yes. They have so many guys, and then they have so many transfers, and you're talking about, I think Mario Williams is still good. And then I like Gary Bryant Jr., damn it. I'm not giving up on Gary Bryant Jr. And so you're looking at that from just a profile standpoint. You're like, you know what? There's a lot of competition for targets there. Whereas TCU, I like Jordan Hudson, and I like DJ Allen and those guys that they got coming in. But Quentin's the dude. He's going to come in there, and he should command that target share. And we got to love Sonny Dice going there because he's going to have the high volume, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree about that. Not as many mouths to feed in the TCU offense for sure. And hopefully this is the year we get a full season out of Johnston and see the production meet what we expect it could turn out to.
So let's talk about Addison. I'm gonna pop on the film and we're gonna look at kind of what he does. And I did an Addison video earlier on YouTube, and you can check it out. I mean, Anthony hit it on the head. He's predominantly in the slot, and I think where he comes from is that's where he's going to be a value for guys. But if we're projecting, I think like anything for Devy, we want to project for the NFL. So when we're looking at both of these guys, for me in a Devy draft, it's which one's going to get higher draft capital. And I think that's my perspective of how I look at these guys. I like Addison. I think that he plays pretty well. I'm concerned. I don't think he plays on the outside in the NFL. I'd be very, very shocked if he can. I think that he's going to be a slot guy, but I do think that there's some separation things with him. I don't know if if he has that separation ability for the NFL, I think he could do it in college in the ACC or against New Hampshire and all these other schools that we've seen, or against North Carolina school. Will he be able to translate well? And he's not going to have that in the Pac-12, because Pac-12 defenses are probably worse than the ACC defenses. So like, you'll see him do well here, and you're going to see him kind of have that value. They'll get him out in the slot. They're going to give him the ball, wide receiver screens and all that. I just wonder, the question I had for you is, do you think his skills translate over to the NFL?
I think so. Not to say like I don't think he's an NFL player, but I do agree. I don't think he's a player that's going to like win on the outside with regularity in the NFL. I don't think it's something where last season at Pitt, or if we see it again this year, like I don't think he's playing predominantly from the slot, like strictly because of mismatch reasons or anything like that. I think that's where he wins best, which is fine. Like, he'll have a role in the NFL, but it's not somebody I'm willing to hang my hat on, being a consistent top wide receiver. And for context, it's not like we're saying he played in the slot sometimes. Like, he played 256 snaps out wide last year. He played 576 snaps in the slot. Like, he's a slot wide receiver, a very good one at that. But he's also not somebody that I'd be really comfortable betting on getting top tier draft capital. Like, do I think he's going to fall all the way out of day 2? No, I wouldn't bet on that right now either, because I think he's a good, accomplished player. But I do think that there's nothing like really eye popping about the measurables. And I wouldn't expect him to be like this huge, like athletic freak or anything like that, that's going to make people think otherwise. And, we've made the point about a lot of mouths to feed in the Trojans offense. Like, we could see a downtick in production being so many mouths to feed there, where he doesn't put up whatever it was, 1590 and 17 touchdowns. Like, those are hard numbers to duplicate when you've got other guys around you that are going to command some work as well.
You hit that on a point there. I think he's a good route runner, and I think that's what helps him, because he has that quickness in and out of his routes from the slot. So I think that's and he does very good in mismatches. Like, anytime there's a linebacker, even a safety, those guys can't guard Addison. So I think that he has that going for him, but his play strength's got to get better. Like, I don't know if it can. I don't know if his frame at 175 is what he's listed at, if he can get more there. And he also logged double-digit drops each season. So the last 2 years, he has had drops. He's had drop issues. You can kind of see him. He doesn't finish with his hands through contact. It's hard. 50-50 balls. He doesn't come down with much. He comes down with some, but we've seen that his drop rate did improve, but it's still up in the double digits. So I think those are my biggest concerns with him. Like, I think that is where I don't pencil him in as a first rounder. But then we look at this year's draft. You know who kills me is Jahan Dotson. Jahan Dotson got first round draft capital.
Yeah.
So now I'm like, damn it.
That throws a wrench into the mix.
If he gets first round draft capital, there's got to be a team out there that sees Addison and says, yeah, first round draft. You know what I mean? Like, that's where I think that's where my wrench is at. Like, damn, I'm with you. I'm like, I don't know if I see automatic first round draft capital, but then I look at the class and I'm like, well, it's a class. It's a good class. I don't know if there's guys that are going to get pushed up into that first round. And if Jahan can get drafted in the first round, I feel like Addison has to almost get drafted in the first round.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
All right, let's look at your guy. Let's talk about Johnston. I know you like this guy. I saw you on Twitter talking him up the other day. So what do you like about Johnston?
What I like so much about Johnston is I feel like he has what not a lot of other players in his projected draft class do. And it's like a size profile. He's big, he's long, he's not what a lot of these other players are in this class. And not that there's anything wrong with, a smaller wide receiver or a small shifty wide receiver, but this is a big play threat that can win vertically and has the size profile to match it. I think that's something that the NFL can draft as many shorter, smaller, slender wide receivers as they want. Size will still be king for certain teams. And I feel good, like very good, that Quentin Johnston is going to go earlier than people think in the NFL draft. I really think that when we can hopefully see some more production out of him this season, hopefully stays healthy, we get some improved quarterback play, getting him the ball, and he should be the featured target there for sure. I think it's really realistic he can go in the first round next year, because there's not going to be many other players, can offer what he can offer. Huge playability. And, there's some times where I'd like to see him do better. Like, he's got the size profile to win in contested catch situations, but there's still like a few times where you wish he was more tougher in those situations. I think he's fine there, but with the separation things will come up, but hopefully he can separate enough at the catch point instead of just, with shifty routes and everything like that. But
Yeah.
I love this guy. I really do. I think the sky's the limit for him. And I hope this is the year we see like a big breakout college season.
Our audience doesn't know that Anthony just showed his age by saying he loves big wide receivers. Because back in our day, we loved the NFL and everybody loved big wide receivers.
Yeah.
Like this was our guy. Like these are the guys that were getting drafted in the first round.
It's
Like
so true.
Justin Blackman, Brian Edwards, all these guys, all these Braylon Edwards, excuse me, all these dudes that from back in the day, like these were our guys that always got drafted high. Remember? And this is old school for us.
Old habits die hard. I ain't quitting them yet.
I know. I love these guys too. I mean, I talk about it, and I talked about a pre-show with him. I think he's Mike Williams, but probably more athletic. And Mike Williams was an excellent college wide receiver, and I still think he's a good NFL wide receiver. I just think he can't stay healthy, and he's been inconsistent. But no, I think a guy that I really trust when I look at Dane Brugler from the Athletic, he has Johnson as his wide receiver 3. He says, hey, his best trait is catch point athleticism, which what you saw. And I do think that you make a good point is hopefully he can create separation at that catch point. Like he doesn't necessarily need to be Addison where he's creating all this fluid, he's not going to be that guy. He's not going to be fluid. He's just too big. But if he can kind of have that stem separation kind of at the top of his routes and have that body language where he's able to create separation against NFL corners, then I think the sky's the limit for him. Like, arguably he's in that top tier wide receiver class if he can develop that.
Yeah, definitely a guy that I'd really like to see him like with an accomplished quarterback at the next level. Somebody that was willing and able to like trust their guy, an accurate guy, put it in the right spot and let him just do what he does, rather than somebody who maybe a younger quarterback who would really shine with somebody like Addison who could, run routes a little bit, create that separation in the middle of the field and do damage that way. So 2 different players for sure.
That's a good point too. Sometimes these guys' situation just comes down to who they get drafted by and they get stuck there. Like DJ Moore. Damn it, DJ Moore, right? Like, and you're looking at what you could be if you had a quarterback. Allen Robinson, we've seen that time and time again. Like that is true in terms of what they need. I think Johnson needs a guy that can get him the ball accurately, and so he can kind of use his athleticism to go get it. It's certainly what we see Justin Herbert is for Mike Williams too. Like he kind of elevated his game based on his ability on the field. And to that point with TCU's offense, the offensive coordinator is Garrett Riley. It's Lincoln Riley's brother. So and Dykes being there, that there's going to be a good system. I think both of these guys are going to be highly touted, but it's the question is who you want. So let's go to that. Let's get down to the pick. This is the hard part for this one. This one's really, really difficult. This is way more difficult than the last one we did. Where are you going with this one, Anthony?
The last one where we did CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, I said, I'm trusting my rankings. This one, I'm throwing my rankings out the window. I have Addison and Johnston ranked back to back right now. I have Addison 1 spot ahead, but I'm taking Quentin Johnston because I really think that it's a matter of time with, a tweak left here over the summer before I move Johnston ahead of him. And you mentioned it earlier. I tweeted the other day that I think Quentin Johnston can threaten to be wide receiver 2 in this class ahead of Kayshon Boutte and just behind Jackson Smith and Jigba. So I think he's somebody that, we're projecting out a little bit more, but what I think the NFL will kind of covet speaks to that. And I'm going Quentin Johnston here. That's my guy. I'm not backing off it.
This show is going to be just you and me agreeing, I think. But no, I everybody out there needs to know that unlike Anthony, I'm going to follow my rankings. Quentin's been my wide receiver 3 for this whole offseason. Addison's been my 4. And I got a lot of shit for that when I posted my rankings. And I said, hey, I'm projecting Quentin Johnston for the NFL. Like that's my job as a Devy analyst is projected for the NFL. And I think whoever you listen to in the space, there's a lot of good Devy analysts and there's some I wouldn't listen to. But their job to tell you where their draft capital is going to be. That's all that matters. Like if these guys are going to go day 3, don't even like bother. You really shouldn't listen to it. Shouldn't be a discussion. Like, okay, who's going day 2, day 1? Right now, if I had to pick, I feel like a team based on what old habits are, they die hard. Like it is hard. Teams are going to fall in love with Johnston's ability. Like they're going to see his athleticism. And if he can hit 1,000 yards receiving and get in that double-digit touchdowns and really pop off in this TCU offense and be their guy, it is going to be hard for NFL teams not to draft him in the top 20. Like it is just going to be too hard. Whereas Addison, I can see Addison slip into that 20-30 range just based on what we talked about earlier.
Yeah, and again, not competent player for player, but for anybody who thinks that the NFL doesn't love size, the Atlanta Falcons, who need everything in the world, just took Drake London in the top 10. So,
yeah,
still happens more often than we think.
And it's true. And I mean, Drake London was talked about, but he wasn't talked about as being a top 10 guy heading into the season. And that could be Johnston's product. And I just can't get away from his profile. I'm old, though, as you know, everybody out there, like that old big wide receiver. I love those guys. And I still think, though, I think he can test well athletically, too. So I still like Addison. He's still my number 4. I don't want any USC fans to come after me. I don't even know if USC fans yet know they have Jordan Addison. You guys are so fair weather. You haven't even figured out football's coming. You're still at the beach. But I think Johnston's my pick as well. So I think I'm going to go with Johnston too. We're going to disagree at some point on the show, but I think Johnston to me profiles better for a Devy perspective.
Yeah, agreed.
All right. Well, hey, we appreciate you guys tuning in. Hit that like and subscribe button if you want. If you don't want to argue with us, put it in the comments. Tell us why Anthony's wrong and why Kevin's right. I always like to hear myself get prompted up on these things. If not, please take a look at our Patreon as well. I'm going to pop up the outro to that, but we'd appreciate you checking that out. Tons of content for you, Devy content in there, over 300 pages. $3 a month, you get rankings, videos. We break down your team if you have another tier. We do all those things for you guys because we appreciate it and we love the Devy space. So we appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll see you guys next time.